there we are. We have that photograph. That photograph just came into us here at the BBC in the last few minutes. Okay, let's go to another eyewitness now. We're going to speak to John Stokes, who is a tour guide on a London bus. John, good evening. Thank you so much for talking to us here on the BBC. Can you just tell us where you were and what you saw?
Okay, we were approaching London Bridge with the bus, and I was preparing the tourists on the bus to get their cameras out to get a photo of Tower Bridge from London Bridge. And as we were actually coming onto the bridge, the driver and I noticed two taxis on the left-hand side and someone lying on the pavement. We just assumed that perhaps that person may have been accidentally knocked over or something. And as we continued along the bridge at a very slow pace, like we always do, then we spotted another person lying on the pavement, and we became a bit alarmed with that. And then a third person, and then we started to think, well, maybe it might have been a gang fight, because I know that area does tend to have a few gangs. But then when we saw a few more people lying and people running up towards them, we got quite concerned, and then eventually we had to stop the bus sort of halfway across the bridge because the traffic had come to a stop. There were no police at the time that we arrived there, so we're assuming it must have happened within 2 or 3 minutes prior to us arriving on the bridge. I attempted to call 999, and the police did arrive within about 5 minutes after we stopped the bus. And then sometime later, there were lots and lots of police cars racing down to the bridge, as well as ambulances. And then someone in uniform came up to our bus and knocked on the door and told everyone on the bus to run. So all the tourists on our bus all ran for their lives, and we actually lost track of them because I was trying to muster them together. But we were all told to go to the far end of the bridge, not the Borough Market end, but the other end of the bridge, towards the monument. And then what we did notice was that most of the blue lights seemed to be in the vicinity of Borough Market. So our driver, Lynn, and I assumed that whatever or whoever it was actually happening right there outside Borough Market. We did see a few people being given CPR by, I don't know who doctors or whoever it was, I'm not sure. Certainly wasn't people in uniform. And yeah, that's it. So we had to leave our bus there. Our driver, Lynn, has now gone home, and I've just arrived home about 2 minutes ago. And we were unable to move our bus because it's part of the area of the crime scene. So, so our bus is still standing there. We don't know how long it's going to be standing there for. It could even be a few days.
Yeah, John, we are glad that you are safe, even if your bus is there. I just wonder, you say you saw people being treated in the road. Have you any idea of the number? How many people were affected?
Well, I counted 8.
8 people?
Yeah, Lynn and I saw 8 people lying down on the pavement, and some of them looked like they were lying in the actual road, rather than on the actual pavement itself, in the actual road. I mean, the problem is she was concentrating on her driving, and I had a microphone in my hand, so I took my attention off my guiding, and I was trying to do 2 things at once: find out what's happening around us, and then the people upstairs on the bus were all peering over the side of the bus, and they saw all the people lying there, and we came to a stage where a lot of the ladies on the bus and some of the children were actually crying, and then we were told to run, so everybody home now, and I don't know when we're going to get our bus back.
What was the sense of urgency from the police officer when you say they were banging on the bus doors? I mean, did you get the sense that you needed to run for your lives, or was it they wanted you out of the area to deal with the situation? Could you tell?
Well, I thought that perhaps there might have been a car bomb, or there might have been explosives around, and they were just trying to get us out of the area for our own safety. And I do know that when we got to the other end of the bridge where we were told to go, a policeman did walk past me with a sniffer dog. So I'm assuming that the dog was probably sniffing for explosives. Yeah, so I mean that's about all I know actually. Having been on the bus, so I probably don't know quite as much as what the people on the pavements knew.
No. I mean your account is very vivid. I mean, you touched on it earlier, John, but presumably you had tourists on this bus to suddenly encounter all these injured people on the road and on the pavements, and then have officers banging on the door and telling you to run. What was the reaction? Not only your reaction, but also the reaction of your guests?
Well, to be honest with you, I was more concerned about the guests because I don't flap so easily. But this guy was banging so hard, he probably made the situation worse because, he was banging on, because the door was closed, obviously, and he was banging on the door and saying, run, 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 move. And so I said to the people on the bus, you need to get off. And they heard him shouting. And some of the women were crying, some of the children were crying. And I mean, I felt bad because they were from all over the world. And they were standing on my bus looking at all these bodies lying all over the place. And I mean, it was a really shocking sight for people on holiday and on top of one of London's most iconic bridges. I mean, London Bridge is known all over the world. So it's, I don't know what to say because it's so weird because I remember 9/11, we were on London Bridge as well when 9/11 happened, and a lot of the Americans were getting phone calls on their cell phones, and they were saying things like, oh my God, and all these years later, another situation on the same bridge. I mean, it's unbelievable.
John, yeah, clearly very, very upsetting, and we really do appreciate you speaking to us here on BBC News. That was John Stokes talking to me, a tour guide who was on a London bus when he saw all those injuries on the streets. Let's go now to an account from an eyewitness of the attack, a man called Gerard.